Hello and welcome everyone to today's English connector webinar. Today's connector webinar, the topics are the extension of our completion route. We will have some explanation of the original name in the offers that we're displaying. Then we will have the cancellation policies, or like the tour operator called them, flex tariffs. We will talk a little bit about the new PaymentFrame version 3. And in the end, you will have some time to ask questions. Just feel free to write the questions and we will go through them after the webinar is done. And yeah, I would like to welcome you once again and enjoy the presentation by our CTO Jens Muskewitz. So Jens, please go ahead.
Hi there. Hope you're all fine and good. Hopefully you can see everything. So let's start. So yeah, it's been quite some time. Not sure whether all of you have been on the last English webinar of the connector. We added a number of features of which we picked, we would say, those ones which might be of interest for you. So let's start. The first thing I want to show you today is the extension of the completions route. Completions is a typical thing where you kind of type in Google or another interface, type in a few words that usually starts with us with the first 3 characters, and then you get yeah, you get suggestions, so something like auto suggestion. What we did change there, and let me show that first, is, so we go to completions, yeah, have the completions route, and we have now new fields, and they allow us to reduce the amount of returned offers or returned auto-suggest entries by parameters. There are 2 parameters. First parameter is category. So we want to say, we just want to have suggestions for hotels which have, let's say, minimum 3 stars. Yeah. So let me just try that. I hope you are aware of how the auto-complete system works here. So you have to enable what you want. Yeah. For example, try out. So currently I didn't select anything I wanted to have completions about. And now I'm collecting, I'm enabling Giata hotels. So we now want to have certain hotels. Yeah? And if I don't limit that and I just type in a certain name, let's say, I don't know, Green Garden, whatever. Or let's skip the garden, say Green Gar, whatever. I know what. Then search for results. First thing you see, so that's Green Garden apart hotels. First thing we changed, we added a new field which is underscore score in the result, so you can see like how far that goes to the original search. So, and the value for that is between 0 and 1. We add information about the category, the ratings, overall recommendation, and so on. So you can see, depending on what you search, how relevant that is or not is. Yeah? Go a bit further down, Green Garden Resort and Suites. So that's almost as close as 1, but not as. Yeah? And now we see, we get 3 stars category, 4+ stars category, and so on. And what you can do now is say, no, I want to skip this 3 stars one, and I would like to have minimum 4 stars category, and now same search. So it should be now less. And this is what it is about. So we now get only 4 stars hotels. So we limit the results by the stars. Yeah? And you, as a check, you see the category here as well. Right. The second feature we've been asking, we also added here, is we can have recommendation. Currently, it's pre-defaulted to holiday check, but that might be in the future even more. So you can say, I want to have any hotels which has at least 90% recommendation rate, and say, I don't know, 5 minimum votes of rating. So 5 people at least should have said that is more or ish 90%. Looks the same way. We search and we get recommendation 90%. Be aware there is overall. Overall is the kind of average, would you say, average of all different parameters for the rating. So it's a recommendation rating, the food rating, and so on. Don't mistake that for the rating recommendation, okay? And you see, for example, that has only 70% overall rating, but 90% of the customers recommend that hotel, okay? So that's the change in the recommendation route. So on the completion route, okay? So that's first thing. Again, if you have questions, just write them down in the channel, the chat channel, and we can answer them in the end. Okay. So next thing, original name. Yeah, interesting discussion we had there. Not sure whether you're aware of that, but whatever we get from our tour operators as contents, as bookable contents, we do map that it's a bit of more understandable for you guys and also for our customers. Why is that so? Nowadays, the tour operators get a mixture of hotels or hotel contents they buy, like originally. So they have a contract with a hotel and they buy that. But there is a vast amount of offers they do get from other sources. That could be a hotel broker, it could be an external agency, whoever. And the problem we're having there is that the quality of the data you get in there is, let's say that it could be improved. And what we do here, we use an own developed matching tool to make that a bit more understandable. Give you a simple example. So if we search for a certain offer, what we do, we display it as a double room. Yeah. But what the tour operator originally sent to us is that we just took here an example from Bento, double ZE and a bulk and a tariff. And you're like, what the hell is that? And what we do actually, we separate that information we get. So we have automatic tools and it'll take, that's a double room. So Doppelzimmer, yeah. And also what we do next, and that's probably for you guys quite helpful, we want to make that translatable. So you get in the future, I'm not good at other languages, but in English I can say it's a double room, yeah. And we will be able to translate all of those separate types to separate languages. Probably start first with English, but definitely do more languages. Yeah, and if we go a bit deeper, so this is what the tour operator sends us. This is what we do out of it. And you might just say, you guys forgot that part here. No, we didn't forget that. Yeah. So you see it. No, we don't see that. For some reason, the original place where it should go to is facility list. So for whatever reason, maybe we didn't pick it up here right, but this should originally go to facility list. So we separate the information we get into room type, inclusive list, transfer list, located list, and facility types, just to explain that This is some inclusive special information. For example, is it a flex tariff, or is there a bike included, or even a drink or something like that? This is usually about transfer. So is this with or without transfer? Is this something about location? Is it sea view or whatever? Yeah. And facility list usually contains information about the room. That might be that's a king size bed, or whether, as above here, is it a terrace or something like that. I may look for more examples here, but it might not be helpful. All right. Type. Yeah, anyway, so the idea we have here is we get a specific information from the tour operator for the room. There's another example, DZ balcony and terrace. So that's a double room. Or we get certain names for a hotel, and then you kind of check against how it's translated by traffics. Yeah, so it's Hostel Talamanca. Yeah, and just explained. Yeah, the example we used, that was a certain Giata for Bentour, but there are other examples. We could also take any other tour operator. So it's not just Bentour, we do that. Probably just need to remove the selection of Bentour here, and then we get different results. So it works for all tour operators. Okay, here it worked well. So that tour operator really called his room double Zimmer, but it's not always like that. And remember, we really want to make it in one of the next releases, we want to make it really auto-translate. So you get here the original name Doppelzimmer, but you can see here then in the future double room. Okay. Good. And this was the other example we explained before. So it says no transfer. Okay. Next feature. Yeah, searchDate. One of our beloved fields, which contains more information than really expected. So we have a parameter searchDate on the connector, which is a rather, let's go at the beginning. It's, by the way, in all of those typical requests. So it's in offers, you find it in hotels, and also in regions. You get a field called searchDate. SearchDate itself consists of a comma separated, so CSV kind of list of parameters. It's altogether, I think, 12 parameters. And we had customers who said, look, guys, that's so hard to read and it's so hard to understand. Can't you change that? And we said, yes, that's a good idea. And what we did, we allowed to use either the old way, so use searchDate, or the new way, specify the individual fields directly. So it's those fields. So we have from date, to date, duration, min duration, max duration, strict date, from time, to time, min departure day time, max departure, min return time, max return time. So having a simpler example. So if you would normally enter in the field searchDate like 10, 30, and then watch it, comma, 7. So we skip whatever the fourth field is and enter only in the, in the third field we skip, but the fourth field we fill the parameter. And as if that's not transparent. You don't know what the hell is that. And in the future, or beginning from now on, you can really specify the from date, which is the 10 here, the to date, That's a 30 here. We ignore the skip one and go straight away to min duration. So that's much simpler, much easier to read. Of course, it's more parameters, but I mean, parameters is transparent. You can better read it. So you don't have like, oh, what the hell is the fifth parameter or the fourth parameter? You don't need to know that anymore. You just use the original new fields, which from our understanding is much simpler to use. Okay. Then next feature, cancellation policies. When Corona started, this feature was not existent with any tour operator system. So it was nothing anybody provided. It is about till what time you are able to cancel a booking for either free or for a small amount of money. Yeah? And what we introduced, that was roughly almost half a year ago, we introduced cancellation policies. So we are now able to display till what time, what exact time you can cancel this offer. And there are two types, well, actually generally 4 types of cancellation policy. And we have a documentation where we can share more on that, and we can send you that one. In this situation, we added a feature. The feature we added is that you can cancel either based on departure date, so that the cancellation is usually based on departure date, or it's based on booking date. Why is that so? What you see here is a date relative to the current today's date. Yeah. So what we say is we just know the rules from the tour operator, and that tour operator, for example, says you could cancel this offer within 5 days relative to today. So if you book today, you can cancel it in 5 days in the future. Yeah. The other rule we know from the tour operators, it's relative to the departure date. So in this case, it's like if you arrive on a certain days, it's 42 days before you cancel that. You can cancel that for either free or a small amount of money. Yeah? And what we do for you, we calculate that as here. And the opportunity here is you can really display, you can cancel this offer for free if it's specified till here it's the 21st of September. Yeah, almost 1 minute before midnight. Yeah. So until that time, you can easily cancel it. Don't worry. Yeah. And this is what we want to use for sales. So you can book anytime and you can cancel it. All fine. Yeah. And so the rule we added is the based on. That's a new field. We added, and now we can say it's relative either to booking date or it's relative to departure date. And the until date fields are auto-calculated from us either based on the today's date, which is, yeah, if it's booking date, or relative to the departure date, so when that travel really goes to wherever. Yeah. Okay, that's the next new feature. So coming then to PaymentFrame 3. The PaymentFrame at Tariffs is a special service we provide on top of the connector in order to handle payments. Why we do that? If you want to work with credit cards, you have to have a certain certificate to do that. So nobody is really allowed to handle credit cards on their end unless you have something called PCI compliance. PCI compliance is a relative complex thing where you once a year you have an audit, somebody comes to you, or at least you have regular scans and so on. And that's something we do. That's our daily, or at least we yearly business. So we have penetration tests, automatic things which are detected just to make sure that our systems are safe. And the whole thing works in that way that you use a payment frame. From that payment frame, after a user entered a credit card, it just comes back and sends you a token. And that token you provide in the booking. So to share that in the documentation. So the new payment frame, we have a little demo here. So you have a certain license and you see like, let's switch to, let's say, English. So they have the whole thing in English. So depending on what product you have, we can, here's the example, you have a package, an insurance and a parking booking. So you can say, I have credit cards, that's all abbreviations, all explained in documentation. I've bank payment, you have a SEPA payment, you have a PayPal payment, you have a normal invoice, and last but not least, but funny, telephone query. Yeah. And that way you can really say, okay, which one should be allowed? And we see here, let me toggle PayPal. So no PayPal. So this is how we use it. And imagine we have a credit card possible for all package, insurance, and parking. It will be handled automatically. So you would select the credit card, and it would just pick the information and will do the following. Since the new regulation with 3D Secure, you have to have now with most of the tour operators a 3D Secure check. So if I use that one and I have a Master or Visa card or whatever, I will, after I entered all the details and it's confirmed, it will automatically check against the bank of the customer. So we make sure there's no fraud case. Yeah. And what is then returned by the payment frame is a token. You use that token, just go to the documentation in the end. You use this token later in the actual booking. Remember, booking is just a post request on the Swagger, so short jump. So yeah, the Swagger documentation here in bookings, and book an offer, so post. Yeah. So this is the kind of information we want to pass, like here. So we want to do a soft booking with payment data. Yeah. And all we do is we receive from the payment frame, after everything was filled out and so on, we receive a token. This token we pass in the section payment to the booking, and the rest is done automatically. Yeah, so if it's a credit card, it will pass it through the tour operator with all the credit card information. If it was just a normal SEPA payment, it's all the bank details. If it was anything else, same mechanism. So all transparent, you just get a token from the payment frame. Actually, you don't care what it is. You pass a token through the section payment in the JSON, all it goes. Yeah, done, right? Okay. So the main idea of using payment frame 3 is to have a simpler use for credit card, including 3D Secure. We support complex use cases where you just don't have one payment frame per service, so a pauschal or insurance or car rental. You can use one for all, and that's much simpler. So yeah, some of the questions we received is, okay, if you guys now supporting PaymentFrame 3, what about PaymentFrame 2? The answer is you can still use it. You're happy to use PaymentFrame 2, but you have to consider your use case. So with PaymentFrame 2, you can only do it in one payment per service. So PaymentFrame 2 only with main booking. If you have insurance, another payment frame. If you have a car rental, another payment frame. If you have parking at the departure airport, another payment frame. But you can still use it, no worries. Yeah. So there is no need to do it tomorrow. Yeah. Take your time, develop properly. The mechanism, as we described it, is in the PaymentFrame 3 environment. There's a test environment. You test it in the test environment. So that's also part of the documentation. And yeah, adding here, if you haven't received it yet, just contact us via support traffics, and we can easily send you the documentation of PaymentFrame 3 in English, of course. Yeah. If you do it in the test system, yeah, there are slightly different URLs. So as a payments-test .traffics-ibe.com, and the demo is also available, so you can play around and see how it works. The only thing you have to consider if you work on the test system, you have to have a special parameter to pass it. Why is that so? Payments test system is separate to the payments production system, and there's different security and authentication handling in between, so you have to pass it. So don't use test payment frame with production servers or production payment frame with test server. That won't work. You always get a funny error message back, something like invalid parameter in TOK, which means in the token, so invalid token. So that this is something you have to consider. Also, please be aware, if you use the test environment, you are not allowed to use product credit cards. So always use test product card, test credit cards. Yeah. Yeah. Last but not least, to see how the PSD2 process is working, be aware that not all tour operators support credit cards. So it's triggered by the tour operator. Yeah? So when you pass a payment frame, you have to push the information in a certain way. I mean, there's a long description. We skip that one, but you pass information how it shall be used. Okay, and from there you get all you need. Yeah? So pass the language and so on. Good. Now the details, how you specify the data, what payment information are available, what is a tour operator, and from there we decide, for example, SLR, you may know that Schauensland, yes, of course, they do support credit cards, and then we pass the information with Schauensland, say, okay, yeah, this will be a automatic authentication for 3D secure, and then off it goes. Okay. Good. Actually, that was hopefully quite informative for you guys. We plan, give us roughly a month of time, we plan to release something what we call best practice guide. Yeah. Yeah. In the moment, we have like 3 chapters. That's all about authentication, compression, I think, and also about flex tariffs, because there usually are some changes. And this is one way of giving you guys a bit of support of how to use it, because some people just said, Swagger is cool, yeah, but yeah, can I have more information? Yeah. But in the end, it is a help, like typical use cases, how to use connector. And this is what we're trying to extend. I mean, currently we have like 3 chapters. We may have soon 4. We'll see. Yeah, so that's something we work on regularly to give you more information.
And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to contact the support at traffics.de. We will gladly assist you. And yeah, everyone, have a nice day, have a nice rest of the week, and then talk to you soon.
Same for me. Thanks. Bye.